Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ketodontist podcast. This is your host, Dr. Matthew Standridge. Thank you so much for being here today. I am really excited to be back in this chair. If you followed the video on YouTube, you notice that I have quite a bit of a different setup. It's something that I've been working on for quite some time. And, I appreciate you 10 loyal listeners out there. You know, it's been a bumpy road, and I've been pretty infrequent about posting, and I do apologize for that. And, thank you so much to the people who have reached out to me and have been, checking in on things. And you guys know I've shared in previous shows, what went on in 2020 and, the tough time that we had and the miscarriage that we experienced while in quarantine, while shutting down business and all that stuff. And then I'll just be honest, since then, 2020, staffing at our office has been an absolute nightmare. And so finding good team members anywhere has been hard with the Great Resignation, but our office was no different. But I am happy to announce that as of today, we have more team members on board. It's the first time I consider myself fully staffed again in the last 2 years. And so, without an adequate team, it's hard for me to do extracurricular stuff like this because being a free podcast and stuff like that, this doesn't provide for my family. This is more of a labor of love for me. And so now that we're back to fully staffed, I'm hopeful to get back to this on a consistent basis and also start getting back some of the leading minds in keto and paleo and carnivore and just kind of this ancestral health lifestyle template. And that's what the thing is I actually had I've been asked actually a bit that if I'm even going back to keto, and keto is always going to be a part of what I do. It's an excellent tool in the toolbox. It doesn't mean that I'm strictly ketogenic all of the time. It's just I go in waves, and it's just kind of like the way that I see kind of natural ancestral health. If for a month out of the year, if our ancestors had access to ripe fruits, they would go after it. Why wouldn't they? But at the same time, that wasn't an all day, every day, all year type thing like it is now with our global food system. And so it's just, but I do, keto is kind of my foundation. It's what I keep going back to. I might experiment with other things and play around with other things, but at the end of the day, keto is base camp for me, if that makes sense. So yeah, I wanted to give a little bit of a heads up on some of the things that we're cooking here, and give a rundown of this last year and kind of where I'm at currently and where I'm going from here. And so before we get back into that, I do have a couple of things I want to announce. So this episode is brought to you by my new training company, Dental Fit. Right now, this is my private coaching and private, programming that I do for folks. And I take on general population people, but I also, I'm very well known in the dentistry space, at least here in America. And most of my clients are actually, dentists or dental professionals. And so I can help a lot of folks, but my biggest thing is making sure that the people that I hook up with are the right fit, that I'm the right fit for them, or they're the right fit for me, and vice versa. I only engage in win-win relationships on that. So I'm pretty selective on who I take on, and I only take on a handful of people at a time. So I do have a couple of spaces open. but they are limited. And then the coaching is done through my app, and as well as people can reach me via text or Facebook Messenger as well. But if you are interested, send me an email at ketodontist@gmail.com, and then I'll hit you back with just asking some questions and kind of and have you fill out some forms and everything, just kind of set up a discovery call from there to see if we are indeed going to be a good fit. And then the second sponsor, also self-sponsored, is because I have a lot of dentists that follow this podcast. I do have a array of orthodontic education courses coming up in the remainder of 2022. So if you're interested in attending a live course, you can visit my website, Dr. Standridge, drstandridge.com / 2022-live-courses. Or if you just go to drstandridge.com, it should be right there at the top, but the actual URL is / 2022-live-courses. All right. So to get back into the show here, to get people kind of caught up on what I've been doing. So, like I said, life has basically my kids and my business has taken over my life. And so diet has been okay. Those of you who followed back in 2020 when I had a mass exodus of team members and stuff like that and was severely understaffed, and we were still dealing with the repercussions of being closed for a couple months and stuff like that, I went through a pretty deep depression on things. And it's been a rough road back. I had a lot of weight regain because it's not like I ever went off the rails, but just with my genetics, I don't have a whole lot of leeway. Like if I eat carbs and or drink alcohol, I will gain weight very quickly. And the only way that I can really, not gain weight while eating carbs is I have to track macros like freaking crazy. I have no leniency on it. And I wasn't in the place of tracking macros, and I wasn't like being full on keto, and I would have some drinks on the weekend and stuff like that, and I wasn't making time to exercise. And so my weight just kind of skyrocketed from that, even though I wasn't binging, I wasn't doing anything crazy. It's what it is. And so that led to a lot of weight regain. And then my highest that I regained up to was 330. Now, as of to date, I'm back around 295. I haven't weighed myself in a couple of days, so I might be a little bit less than that. But yeah, and so that's where we're at now. And so moving forward, it's been interesting because a few weeks ago, I was just dealing with a lot of back and neck issues, which is concerning to me as a dentist because that's like the number one reason for disabilities in dentistry is ergonomical issues and back, shoulder, and neck injury. And I did also tweak my shoulder pretty good about 4 months ago. It was during a lift. I can't remember if it was overhead press or incline press, but I don't know. Something was just off, and I pushed harder than I probably should, and I felt like a pop. And I haven't been disabled from it, but it set me back strength-wise considerably. And so I'm just kind of now getting back kind of over the hump on that. So, but yeah, so getting back to the back and neck pain and joint pain, my fingers, oh my God, my fingers would just like, my hands would cramp up. Even though I was tracking my electrolytes, my knuckles and my fingers and everything, and my knees would just give me tons of fits throughout the day. And it's hard to do my job as a clinical dentist with all of this stuff going on. And so for those of you who have followed me for quite a while, I have been fairly skeptical about the carnivore movement. The whole thing of the whole tagline of plants are trying to kill you, has just kind of not set well with me. And it's just like, okay, yeah, they have some defense mechanisms and stuff like that. But with modern agriculture, domestication, and then also the cooking of foods, I think that negates quite a bit of it. But then, I'm just like, I'm following some of the folks with the anecdotal evidence, and I'm just like, you know what? Let's give it a try. I mean, I've heard people talk about their joint pain and everything, and my joint pain certainly got better with keto, but I was just like, let's try it. I think carnivore does have a place in being kind of the most healthful form of a total elimination diet. Almost any diet that gives success is some sort of an elimination diet, especially when you're dealing with inflammation and stuff like that. And so out of all of the more strenuous elimination diets, I think carnivore just makes the most sense to me because it's built around protein and fat and getting rid of everything else. And especially if the protein and fat sources are coming from sources like beef that just seem to be very bioavailable, high digestibility, low gastric distress, that type of stuff. And then eggs, as long as somebody doesn't have an egg allergy or egg sensitivity, I think eggs are an excellent source of protein and fat and micronutrition as well. So I was like, you know what? Hell, let's just try it. Let's try it for 2 weeks. And then kind of go from there. And it was about also this time that I was really thinking, now that we're back to being fully teamed and fully staffed, I was thinking about getting back into 75 hard. For those of you who don't know what 75 hard is, it was started by Andy Frisella, who he has a podcast, Real AF. It used to be the MFCEO podcast or something like that. I found him actually right around 2020. And it's funny, he actually owns this pretty big company, a supplement company called First Form. Form being PH, like pharmacy. First Form, and I didn't put two and two together, but I actually used to buy some of their stuff way back in the day when I lived out in St. Louis, because that's where they're based and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. But yeah, anyway, so 75 Hard, what it is it's not a workout program per se. It's more like a self-discipline program. Where you have daily tasks that you have to do with no deviation for 75 days straight. And if you make one little slip up or fail to do one of these tasks, you have to start all over. And so it's really built about extreme ownership, discipline, and consistency. And so, it's a tough program. I've actually tried it a few times, and then something would happen and I would get derailed. Like the second time that I tried it, I got through like 32 days, and then I got sick and I missed a workout. And then so that starts all over. And it's just like, oh man, that sucks. And that's kind of deflating, honestly. Like you get that far a month into it and then you have to start all over. Aish. But anyways, now I'm back to full teamed and I'm starting this carnivore thing. I was just like, why not do it again? I mean, personally, the hardest thing about it is one of the steps that you have to take daily is drinking a gallon of water. And the last time I failed it was because I didn't get a gallon of water in. And that sucks. And it's one thing that I don't agree with either, because there's no good evidence scientific evidence that supports having to do, it supports doing a gallon of water. Our thirst mechanisms do a pretty darn good job on dictating. Now you want to mitigate that for, extreme heat or extreme cold and stuff like that. For the day-to-day stuff, our thirst mechanisms do a pretty good job regulating how much fluid, how much water we should be drinking. And so I'm having to use the restroom all the time and stuff like that, drinking that much water. I have water right here. I've got to get X amount of these in a day, and so I'm just constantly drinking water and then constantly going to the bathroom. So I think that's out of all the things, the 2 workouts a day, one of them being outside, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. Running in the rain, yeah, I'm good. It's the freaking drinking of a gallon of water every day that sucks the most for me. But I digress. Anyway, so I was like, well, if I'm going to be doing this carnivore thing and all that stuff, why not just go ahead and do 75 hard as well? Because one of the things about 75 hard is you have to choose a diet and you cannot deviate from it. Like, you can have 0 slip-ups, like 0 little cheats or little tastes or anything like that, and also 0 alcohol. And so, while I'm not going to do carnivore, I basically made my my diet keto, so I'm going to be full-on keto for those 75 days, but I'm also experimenting a lot with carnivore. And so far, I'm on day 8 of 75 hard, and I'm on my 12th day of carnivore. And 90% of those meals have been strict carnivore, which has been eggs, meat, butter, a little bit of dairy, not a whole lot, and salt. That's it. About 70% of my meals have just been eggs or beef with salt. And maybe a little butter. I cook my eggs in butter. And so that's what's going on. And so, like I said, I'm on day 8 of 75 hard. I would say 5 days in is when I noticed on carnivore, man, I gotta give them credit. Like, I started feeling really good. Like, my back pain diminished quite a bit. My joints started feeling really better, and mental clarity. There's a lot of mental clarity that came on, and also my mood has stabilized. I don't feel like when things are, for example, if I have big procedures lined up back to back, like very hard, intense surgeries and stuff like that, because for those of you who don't know, I do a lot of advanced surgical services in dentistry, dental implants and oral surgery and stuff like that. And so, if I have a lot of that, which takes a lot of planning, and then the physical performing of the surgery, which are marathon days, like I shared a case of an implant reconstruction that we did. That was an all-day thing, a full arch thing. They sat in the chair at 9 and left at 4:30 in the afternoon. That's a marathon, and that's very physically taxing on my body to do. And so I was just like, to be already in day 5 of carnivore and to start noticing this much improvement, there might be something here. And so, like I said, I'm on day 8 right now, and it's just as good, if not better. And so I'm really excited kind of moving forward to see how this goes, and then also see about the what kind of difference we are at the 30-day mark, and then at the 75-day mark at the end of 75 hard. Now, one thing it'll be interesting is because for my birthday in September, we're going to be going to Mahogany Steakhouse down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. On our way, we do a family retreat down at the Sequoia State Park down there. But we're going to stop on our way in Tulsa because Mahogany is one of my favorite steak places, like, in the world. And it's going to be interesting to be getting a steak without, much anything else. And certainly, I'm kind of a bourbon and scotch guy. And so to not have have a nice scotch complementing my steak, it's going to be interesting. But hey, it'll be good. And so anyways, getting back to it, that's where I'm kind of at right now. With the 75 hard thing, it's 2 workouts a day. One of them has to be outside. Both are 45 minutes, and one of them has to be outside. So right now, my mornings are my outdoor workouts. That is what I do. I jog or ruck, and I alternate between the two, and it's just that simple. Right now, I'm doing a Couch to 5K type app for my jogging days, and then on my non-jogging days, I ruck. I throw on my weight vest, and I walk for 45 minutes. So that's every morning. Doesn't matter if it's rain or whatever. I've already ran in the rain a couple times this week, and but it's fine. And then in the evening, I do. And in the evening I do lifting. And I'm just kind of going through a 5x5 program right now on certain lifts. And so each day has a compound lift that I'm practicing. And I'm doing a 5x5 movement on, and then I throw in some accessory work after I get done with that. So yeah, that's it. And I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty good right now. My body is feeling. I'm starting to get a lot of my strength back. Like I said, my back and my knees and my fingers are not aching as much, and so I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And I'm also with the diet thing, what I'm doing differently, and this is different than what I've done in the past, is I'm not tracking. This little experiment is very much about okay, so the carnivore camp says you don't need to track and all that stuff if you just eat a meat-based diet, which is what they considered a species-appropriate diet. And when a species member eats a species-appropriate diet, then everything just kind of falls into place. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm not restricting amount of foods either. Because I'm lifting and running or rucking so much, I'm not trying to be 1,600 calories. When I have kind of just tracked or projected what I've been doing, I'm probably around 1,900 to 2,200 calories per day. And I'm not weighing myself a whole lot. I'm gotten away from daily weighings just because I don't want that to influence what I eat. I just want to kind of do this for 75 days and track the before and after pictures. And I started right at 300 pounds. And like I said, I did weigh myself the other day, just kind of see how things were going. I was 295. I was like, okay. And, I don't know when I'll check again. So, and I don't know if I will, but anyways. So, yeah, that's where I'm at, and you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook. And Twitter is I'm back on Twitter more, and but I share a lot of my stuff on Instagram stories and my meals and stuff like that. So, if you want to follow along, cool. That's where it'll be. And then I wanted to finish up today's episode with a little bit of a Q&A because somebody reached out to me via Instagram, and they messaged me on Instagram, and her name is Amber, and I'll read the question and then give the answer, and we're going to start talking about poo, people. So if you if you don't want to hear about the old fecal matter, then probably now this time to end the podcast. But anyways. Hey, Dr. Matt, thank you so much for putting yourself out there and sharing what you're doing. I saw that you're getting back into keto and even more so carnivore. I've been keto for about 3 weeks now, not carnivore. Okay. But have noticed that I'm using the bathroom much. Not using the bathroom much, specifically number 2. It's not uncomfortable per se, but this is so different from what I used to. I wanted to check for any reason for concern. Thank you for your time, Amber. Okay. So that is a great question, Amber, and it's one that is fairly frequent with the keto space. And so it's kind of interesting when you go into the digestion, specifically the digastric emptying times of these different macronutrients and stuff like that. So to recap, we have 3 macros. We have protein, fat, and carbohydrates, right? And so compared to protein and fat, carbohydrates are, would be considered, at least in isolation, less filling. They have less satiety sometimes, than protein and fat. Now, that being said, fat by itself is not very satiating, but when it is in its whole food form and packed with protein, so a steak, for example, very satiating. But anyways, your stomach churns and burns through carbs pretty quickly compared to protein and fat. That's why high protein diets have been linked to high satiety. And then if you have high protein and fat coupled with that, you can get even longer levels of satiety. And so, when you consume protein and fat, you have enzymes in the pancreas and the livers known as proteases and lipases that kickstart the breakdown of proteins and fats so that way they can be absorbed, right? And, carbs, and in humans, carbs are digested by enzymes, and not so much gut bacteria, except for fiber. Fiber is digested by gut bacteria in the large intestine. And so these enzymes that break down carbohydrates, amylase is a big one. There's a few others that are escaping off the top of my head. But anyways, this is why digestion actually begins in the mouth, because amylase starts the breakdown of these starches into monosaccharides or disaccharides, depending on the makeup of the starch. And so that's actually found in our saliva, so that breakdown actually starts in the mouth. That's also another reason why not just sugar, but simple starches and refined carbohydrates, because of this amylase breakdown, if it breaks down already into a monosaccharide that then can fuel the harmful bacteria in our mouth, that's why we get cavities. That's the biggest reason why we get cavities. Some people say there's nutrient deficiencies and all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates cause cavities. It's that stupid simple. It really is. And there's other things, but that is like the biggest lever that we can pull by far. And so, anyways, not to get off my dental to step off my dental soapbox here, but anyways, so your amylase starts this breakdown depending on if you have disaccharides and stuff. And then you also have other enzymes like fructase, lactase, and stuff like that. And basically it converts all of these different sugars down to glucose, which is the only monosaccharide, that we can actually use for the form of energy. And it's actually interesting with these gut fermentation versus enzyme fermentation and all that stuff. I think that is a big reason why I would consider humans animal, as to eating animals and stuff, is because our carbohydrates breakdowns, just the way that our digestive tract is, and also our gut bacteria, we don't get a whole lot of energy from bacterial fermentation compared to other species that are high plant-based. And so, and then there's also, like right now, the big thing is with pH, I think Anthony Chaffee is the first one that I saw, and then everybody just repeats the same shit. Sorry, language. But, everybody repeats the same stuff, and it's just like, oh, the pH of, the humans have a pH of 1 to 1.5, so that proves that we're, meat eaters. And okay, there's probably something to it. And then also, scavengers, maybe, because vultures have a very high stomach acidity. And so, there's something to that. But at the same time, when I looked it up, dogs have a pH of 4.5. Not nearly as acidic. So, but they're supposed to be carnivores. So I don't know if stomach pH is necessarily saying if one should be considered carnivore or not. But I think it's probably a piece of the puzzle. But anyways, getting back to this digestion piece, right? So bile is so when we talk about bile now, it's involved in the breakdown of fats. And so when we eat bile, these bile salts are used to emulsify fatty acids. Emulsification means breaking down and mixing up and making things into more of a homogeneous mixture. So this happens so that way these fatty acids can be transported through water through water absorption, basically. And so, because it has to do that, that turns the turnover rate of fat is slower. And so that's why comparatively carbs move through our system faster. But even though they go through faster, it's also, we don't absorb as much. It's less efficient as far as an absorption standpoint. So that's why when we talk about, fat, animal proteins and animal fats, they're highly bioavailable. They have a very high digestibility rate. I've seen it quoted between 96 to 98%. Now carbs, however, depending on the type of carb and all that stuff and the fiber and starch composition of it and everything, they're closer to 60 to 70% absorption rate. And so you're going to have a 30 to 40% leftover mass that was not absorbed. So that's going to be passed into the feces. So that obviously a higher carbohydrate, higher fiber diet will lead to more fecal matter. And if you're not really eating much of that, then obviously you're going to have less excrement. Now, also, it's important to note just overall food mass. I know me eating carnivore, the actual mass of food is very low. And so yeah, there's just not a whole lot of leftovers going on. Now so getting down to the point here, if you're going only once a day or every other day, as long as you're not uncomfortable and stuff like that, I think you're good. If it's closer to 3-4 days or more, and that's a concern, you could try laxatives. Magnesium oxide has been helpful for some folks. I don't really like psyllium husks, or Metamucil type powders, because I've tried that before and it just felt more bloated than anything. You could add a little coconut oil to your stuff, or even more refined MCT oil. Just be careful with that. Anybody who's been around since the old school bulletproof coffee days knows what happens when you take too much MCT oil. That is where the term disaster pants came from. So yeah, but like I said, as far as right now, if you're going every day, once a day or every other day or something like that, and you're feeling good, I wouldn't worry about it too much. One more thing to help keep from true constipation, make sure your electrolytes are on point, specifically sodium. So that's a key point right there to make as well. So yeah, I hope that helps you, Amber, and give me a follow up, see how you're doing, and yeah, just keep in touch. All right, guys. So that is it for the POO Q&A. Yeah, moving forward, you're trying to get some good interviews set back up. I miss talking with other people. I don't mind these one-way conversations because it allows me to connect and be a little bit more vulnerable and transparent with you listeners, with you loyal listeners that have followed along during all of this. But then I would like to kind of reconnect with people that have been on the show before, but then also get some new faces on because there's some people doing some interesting things, and I'd just like to get them on and help share the message. And I'll also be talking a lot more about one thing that's got me riled up is the war on meat going on right now. And looking into all of this stuff and with the World Economic Forum and stuff like that, there's some shady stuff going on that I'm getting kind of riled up about. So we'll probably be talking about that quite a bit in the future as well. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed today's show. If you enjoyed today's show, please like the episode if it's on YouTube. Please like the video and subscribe. If you're listening to it on your favorite podcast, please subscribe to the podcast. Share the show with friends or anybody that you think might be getting value out of it. Then you can also follow me at Ketodontist on Twitter. Or I've switched my Instagram to at Dr. Matthew Standridge, Dr. Matthew Standridge, because I've been showing a lot more of my clinical casework on there as well, before and afters of our cosmetic stuff and our surgeries and stuff like that. So, but anyways, again, hope you found value out of it. And if you want to reach out to me, you can message me on Twitter or Instagram or shoot me an email at ketodontist@gmail.com. All right, guys. Take care, go kick some butt, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.